But anyways, let's go ahead and get started. So my name is Cece. I work on this channel, Speed Docs, and we do speedrunning documentaries. We're working on Kirby's Air Ride, all tracks.
Perfect.
Yeah. And I understand you have some experience in Kirby's Air Ride.
Yep.
So go ahead and just tell me how you got started. How did you first come into running Kirby's Air Ride?
Okay, so in must have been AGDQ 2015 is how I first saw speedruns. I think I just saw like Super Mario Sunshine was like top of the Twitch directory. It's probably how a lot of people find it. I was just like, oh, it's like the biggest game, whatever. And I click on it and I found the run. And I think I followed a couple of the runners. And then from there, I just like, that was kind of my introduction to speedrunning as a viewer. And then from there, I was just like super interested in like a ton of stuff. So I just started like finding as many runners of any game that I was interested in as possible. And then Bouncy Boy ended up posting Pair Strike at some point, and I was like, oh damn, like Air Ride, or I should probably ask this cussing fine, I guess.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. All right, cool. But yeah, like I was like, oh shit, like Air Ride, that's sick. And like I was watching the run and like it just looked really cool. And like Air Ride was one of my favorite games as a kid. So probably a couple months later, I mean, that was like one time, and then I didn't even like remember who he was at that time, but then probably Bouncy Boy hosted him again or something like that. And then at the time also like I would ask like a ton of questions in like everyone's chat of any game that I was interested in. So, you know, with Air Ride as well, like I kind of asked a bunch of questions, like he explained stuff. And then at some point I just decided to like just download the game and then play an emulator and kind of like start trying to do some stuff because it just looked like a lot of fun. So I kind of got into it, and then that was probably a couple months later when I found, or like a couple months after like AGDQ, and then I probably started running sometime over the summer, probably like June or something like that. I'm not sure when my oldest run is. I mostly just did ILs for a while. Let me see. My oldest run on speedrunning.com is from September of 2015, but I already had splits, so maybe I just didn't submit the other ones before. My first runs were probably in like August, but I probably started in June or July as far as just doing like time attack.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that's kind of how I got started.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of similar where I actually went to a college. I went to a community college and I got a degree in video game design.
Oh yeah, that's actually what my degree is. It's computer game science.
Let's go.
So
and so as part of our thing, I had to take a summer course, and someone mentioned like, oh yeah, man, Summer Games Done Quick is going on, and we kind of took like an hour to just like chill in like a lab that we were doing, and we watched some games done quick, and I was instantly hooked. And so I was watching that all week, and then I was like, this is so cool, man. I wish I knew more about it. I had heard of speedrunning stuff before, but
yeah, I must have been vaguely aware of it, but I never like made any connection or thought about it.
Yeah, I know, and I feel so dumb. I'm like, man, if I had just gotten in on this like a year earlier, I would have been so much more knowledgeable. I could have made so much more headway. Anyways,
yeah, I've always felt like not an old boy for like a really long time, and I was like, no matter how long I'm around, people who have been around longer are always going to make me feel like I'm not an old boy. But I mean, now I've been around for like over 4 years, so I guess that's a while. But you know, it's just it always could have been earlier.
Yeah, well, you can't beat. Yeah, I had to come to terms that you can't beat yourself up over it. It's like, it is what it is. You got in pretty early. It was 2015. It's not bad.
Yeah, like I'm not beating myself up over it. I'm like happy that I found speedrunning because it's been a lot of fun and a big way to make friends and stuff. So
yeah. So you watched games, or you watched streams, and then you eventually found Pair Strike. And then what was it about Kirby's Air Ride specifically that brought you in? Because I'm guessing you watched other games, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think...
Is that the first game that you actually did speedruns of?
So it's the first game that I did speedruns of. The first game that I did anything like a speedrun with was I learned Gelato Skip and Sunshine. I think was the first thing I did.
Okay.
Just in emulator on an Xbox controller. But I mean, I was pretty limited, seeing as I was at my apartment at school. I didn't have a TV, and I didn't have any of my consoles with me. But I mean, actually, I did have a TV there, but I didn't use it because I didn't really have much to use it for. I mostly used it like if I wanted to plug like a laptop in, like watch a movie. But like I really didn't use it at all. But I mean, I also didn't have a capture card or anything like that. I didn't know anything about streaming. I didn't know anything about video recording. I didn't even like think about any of that. I just thought like, oh, this is cool. I want to try it, which is why I tried Gelato Skip, because I was like super into Sunshine, especially like when I started out. And then I don't know, it was just like one of my favorite games as a kid. I played it a lot, and like everyone always plays City Trial as a kid, and I did that plenty too. But I think um, going based on my understanding of like how much other people played City Trial, I think I played the racing mode a lot more. I don't know, it's just racing. It's not like I'm like was ever big on racing games as a kid. I pretty much didn't have any. I had like racing like games like I don't know, Tony Hawk Pro Skater and like Snowboard Kids and stuff like that. But I mean, those aren't really racing games. So
Yeah, let's say. I mean, Snowboard Kids is much more of a racing game than Tony
yeah,
Hawk is. I wouldn't call Tony Hawk a racing game.
yeah. But
Uh, but I agree
guess
with you
it,
there.
yeah. So I don't know. Like it wasn't like I was a big like racing game person. It's just something about Kirby Air Ride that I really liked, which is weird because it wasn't even like Kirby. I wasn't even like super into Kirby games either. Kirby Air Ride was the only Kirby game I ever had. So like
Oh wow.
I don't know like how it came about. I mean, we had it at some point. I had older brothers, so like I'm not even the one who was like, "Hey mom, like I want this game." We just we had it because
Mhm.
GameCube came out in like 2001, so I was 6 at the time, and I think we got it like on release. So I was too young to like be watching commercials and be like, "I want that game."
Right.
Um, but I just really liked it for some reason. So since it was super easy for me to try because I could just play it on emulator, that's kind of how I got into it. And then I just started doing Time Attack, and then I really liked it, so I kept going.
There you go. Okay. So, when did you first sort of join the community? Like, were you in the Discord chatting in that time, or were you sort of just watching?
So there wasn't a Discord yet, or at least hadn't really been picked up on. This was 2015, so
That's true,
um,
man.
mostly the community was just Pair Strike stream. Really, like there were a few other people who streamed at the time, but like Pair Strike was like the main one. Just like most of the community was like hang out in this chat. Um, but like, I mean, Waves would stream sometimes. Fuzzy Pickle would stream sometimes. Um, trying to think who else. Let me look at the leaderboards actually, because there hasn't been like a whole lot of activity in the past couple years. But like, Infect would stream sometimes. Gazi would stream sometimes. A few other people here and there, but uh, yeah, the community was like mostly just his chat. And like I would chat in there like all the time. Um, but that was probably, I mean, that was like before I even started running it. Like mostly was just kind of most of my chatting was just asking about like the game and stuff like that. But um, you chat a lot in the chat and you get to know people and stuff. So that would have been sometime probably over the summer of 2015. I think probably once I started running the game more, sometime later in 2015 is when we I was invited to like we had like a Skype group for it, but we didn't really use that too much. And I think like not long after I joined that, we ended up like making a Discord instead. Or I think P had already made a Discord. P isn't actually. I don't think he ever ran the game, but he's just like I don't know, friends of Pair Strike and kind of someone involved with the community. But he had already had a server, and then we all just kind of joined that and went from there.
There you go.
So
The old
probably joined
Skype
the
groups.
community. Yeah,
Oh,
it would have been like sometime late 2015 is when I joined.
I love those old days. We log
Yeah,
in and be like, oh shit, what's all my friends been talking about?
yeah. I gotta say though, I was like one of the fairly early adopters of Discord because like, just like among like my IRL friends, like we use Skype a whole bunch. Like, we'd just always be voice chatting and stuff like that. And then there were a couple other like programs that one of my friends tried to like get to use instead. I think like Mumble and TeamSpeak and stuff like that. But we weren't really about that. But like Discord came along, and like as soon as I found about it, I was like, oh guys, we got to switch. And then I eventually convinced my friends to. And then as soon as I found that it was I think at that point I was already using Discord, and then it felt weird to use Skype only for Air Ride because I already switched to Discord. But then when the conversation came up about just having a Discord for it, I was like, oh, we should do that. And I like pushed for it. So
I gotcha. Yeah, my experience was we had a Skype group for some reason for a long time, and then eventually we met somebody or played online games with somebody, and they're like, yo, use our TeamSpeak server for a while. And so we had like a dedicated room in their TeamSpeak server, and then the guy was kind of an asshole, and he ended up kicking us out. And we made our own TeamSpeak server. We hosted on our buddy's computer, and my buddy is such a diehard TeamSpeak fan, and I'm like, this sucks. So let's get something better. And then I found Discord, and then from then on I was like,
yeah,
you can keep that TeamSpeak and you can shove it. I can't stand it anymore.
yeah. I feel like all those other
Good.
programs, they were just bad, unfortunately. Like they all had good ideas, and they were a good replacement to the issues that Skype had, that the lag issues and the security issues. but they were just bad user experiences to the point that nobody liked using them. Whereas like for all its flaws that Skype had, it was a good user experience. It was easy to use and it was effective and stuff. So just everyone used it.
Yeah, they definitely paved the way for Discord, and I think that's what I'm looking for. It's definitely like iterative. It's based off of like it has like the best of all the pieces, right? I feel like it has the best parts of TeamSpeak, where it has really great voice chats and really distinctive voice channels and things like that. It also has the best parts of Skype, of having like a consistent log of chat that exists whenever you're not there. So you can log in and it's still there. And unlike TeamSpeak, where if you're not signed in, the chat is not saved. You know, it just starts from where you whenever you log in.
Yeah.
A couple other ones. So, but it's really awesome. I like Discord. So, yeah. All right. Anyways, enough Discord talk. So you'd see here, you kind of got in around 2015, around the end of 2015. Pearstrike gets the world record in 2015. He fought it back from Yokaze. So we're starting to really see it's like really like getting pushed. The game is really pushing down further and further, especially when Yokaze shows up.
Yeah. So I think like around the time that I joined and before and for time after, like the non-Japanese community, so like I'll just call it like the Western community, like the Speedrunning.com community, the streaming Twitch community, etc., was really primitive, honestly. Like we're all playing on the US version. We kind of had this idea that Japanese was faster, but we didn't really know anything about it. We were using not Scooter Everywhere, which Scooter Everywhere is pretty much the fastest. The times weren't very good. We didn't have like great understanding of a lot of techniques and stuff like that. I was basically, when Yokaze came in, he was kind of like, he guided us forward to be like, okay, well, this is what the game's supposed to be played like. Let's work towards that. And we did. And then basically every time, like, I never actually ended up getting the record at any point, which kind of frustrates me because I think I was ahead of Pearstrike at times and he was ahead of Yokaze at times, but I was never in both those places at once. But basically, like every time we would improve a little bit, Yokaze would come in and improve it more and more. So that's kind of like how that went. But as far as like ILs and stuff like that, I feel like I kind of paved a fair amount of the way for ILs. Like I think I was one of the first people to learn there's like a Japanese exclusive glitch with Scooter that you use on Checker Nights and a few other courses like Frozen Hillside. And I was kind of like, I think the first one to like figure out how that worked and start using it and really like push those times down off of switching off Rocket from like Check Night and Machine Passage. So
what is this glitch that you're talking about?
So basically, there's a glitch where if you're charging and you catch air, then normally like when you press A in the air, it'll cause you to like lose height to drop to the ground. But with Scooter, usually if you are in the air and you press A and it causes you to hit the ground, you'll like instantly stop. It's kind of a weird mechanic thing. But if you are charging when you catch air, then for the remainder of the time that you hold the charge, so like you kind of go over like a little lump and catch air for a sec, then as long as you continue holding A down, you'll have substantially better speed retention. And so at the end of Checker Nights, there's like all those boosters in a row. And basically there's like a little lump on the left side. And if you charge when you go over that, there's like a booster afterwards, and there's a whole bunch of boosters. And pretty much you pick up the speed from all those, and they just all like stack together, and it flies you all the way across the finish line, and pretty much like around the second corner until like the speed wears back to normal. So
gotcha.
It's like super important. It was a huge time save.
I've seen it, and I just thought that was a wheelie scooter being super fucking fast.
Yeah, if you just charge normally, like if you don't go over the lump and do that, like you don't make it from the first booster to the second booster.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, it was like a pretty important glitch, and that single glitch is the biggest thing that makes Japanese save time with the US version, because that glitch doesn't exist on the US version.
Oh, okay.
Or it might exist, possibly like a little bit, but not nearly to the level that it does in Japanese. So like you still can't get from one booster to the next. Like it might have some assistance in retaining speed, but not enough to use.
Gotcha. All right, neat. I've also heard that. I guess can you give me some other things about like the Japanese version that makes it faster?
Yeah. So pretty much, as we understand it, all the vehicles they're either. I haven't like looked at the like vehicle data stat numbers to see if it's a matter of the vehicles themselves or if it's a matter of the engine, how it processes it. But basically, functionally, it's like the vehicles are all a little bit lighter. So generally what this means is when they're sliding, they'll slow down just a little bit slower. So like whenever you do, let's just say you're using Warp Star, you do charge and drift around a corner, then like the time that you're sliding, it'll maintain a little bit more speed. And then if you're going faster when you release the charge, then the boost will put you up to higher speed. And then as far as that, Rocket Star in particular is quite a bit lighter on Japanese version. So it saves a lot of time with Rocket Star, especially because the boosts are so big. So like if you're going a little bit faster when you release the boost, then it helps a lot. So outside of like that one scooter glitch, Rocket Star is the only vehicle that it makes a big difference for, I'd say. Other than that, it's super minor differences pretty much everywhere else.
Gotcha. But that's really good because Rocket Star is a really, really major star that they use a lot.
Yeah. Rocket's basically tier list is like Scooter, then Rocket, then Jetstar, then Slick. And those are kind of like the top 4. So yeah, Rocket's number 2, and it helps a lot on Japanese.
Yeah, like I remember back in my casual days, I remember trying to use Rocket Star, and I thought, man, this one sucks.
Yeah, Rocket Star. Yeah, I definitely thought that too. And like, pretty much the thing with Rocket Star is you just have to boost way more than you expect to. And then the other thing is tapping A when turning makes a huge difference in making it so you can turn sharper without really like losing much speed. And you never like think that as a kid, because when you hold A, you start to charge and that slows you down. So you think like mashing A as you turn wouldn't be good, but it actually is like paramount of importance for Rocket Star to be able to like make turns and stuff like that. So without that, it'd be unusable, and the big speed would be useless. So
okay. So there's a big fight back and forth. Like it seems like every time Pearstrike takes the world record back, like within a week or so, like Yokaze just blows it away again. Like on the November 2nd, Pearstrike gets an 18:49 in-game time, and then Yokaze beats it with an 18:24 like the next day. And then Yokaze finally comes in and he destroys the time with a 17:29, which is, what is that? It's a lot of time. It's a 55-second improvement. Like, holy shit.
Yeah. So basically, if you were to like look back at the Speedrider is like the Japanese IL community leaderboard,
right.
And if you look at that, and especially like you look at the scooter records and stuff like that, and most of the top vehicles and most of the vehicles in general, you can see pretty consistent progression of dropping of times on ILs, from like, for example, just random course, Sky Sands was wheelie scooter. It was like a 201 in 2014, and then sub 2 2014, 155 2014, 154 in 2015, 151 in 2016. So like it basically, like every IL was just improved over time, like you would expect out of anything, at a pretty reasonable pace. But the skill level that like the top Japanese players were at was just way higher than like anyone in the Western community was at. Because I don't know, when you have someone in the community who learns how to do something, they kind of teach everyone else. But since it was the kind of language barrier, general communication barrier, then like we didn't learn directly, so it kind of took us a while to like catch up to them. So basically, like Yokaze, he could just do like any no reset run, and like even though he doesn't spend any time practicing consistency, because like you don't need consistency for ILs, you just need to be able to go fast. It's like that's why his early runs weren't as good as like the record is now. Like, he like even in 2015 he would have been able to get a run as good as the current record or something like that. It's just he basically just did a run to beat the record because he didn't really care about the category. He just wanted a Japanese player to have the record, I think. Or I don't know if it was him in particular or if he just like wanted someone from the community to have it. But yeah, so
interesting. I guess that kind of brings me to the next part, which is this is kind of like the death of the category. It's been 2 years or so. That was 2016. We're coming up on 3 years.
Yep. It's going to be almost 3 years, which I've actually been working on ILs to hopefully try and beat that soon. But pretty much part of that was, so that was like, I don't know, June of 2016. I think SGDQ happened. That was SGDQ. And when we were there, Pearstrike and I were kind of just messing around the practice room. We were like, what'd be cool would be if we had a all tracks, no duplicate vehicles run. And we kind of talked about it. And because at that time, like, while Scooter's really fun and it's really fast, like, the better you get, the less you can use other vehicles. And like, since a lot of the vehicles have like cool tech and stuff like that, we're like, oh, this might be a fun thing to work on. So we kind of came up with that category after. It's just like a miscellaneous category, but he and I have put quite a bit of work into it. So like all tracks kind of died, but at least the focus between him and I kind of shifted to over to no dupes. And then on top of that, I kind of took a break from the game anyway because I started running F-Zero GX, and that's what I've run mostly for the past 3 years. So I've kind of come back to Air Ride here and there, but for the most part, it's been for no dupes and kind of other categories too, like Air Ride 100 checkboxes. So yeah, I kind of died, just kind of lost interest, I think. Probably the biggest reason was Nebula Belt is such a grind. It's like 60 spin dashes in a row or whatever. It's just really hard to do, and like you have that wall at the beginning of a run. Just kind of made it a little bit unappealing to run. So
I gotcha. Yeah, I have it here in my notes. Pearstrike said that having the 60s spin dashes is just really hard on your hands as well.
Yeah. It was funny actually because at the time I ran an emulator because I just never switched to console, and I was using an Xbox 360 controller, which the D-pad normally is like not very good because it's got those weird wings. Like it's not like a plus sign; it's like a octagon. But that's actually really great for D-pad spin dashes because you need to hold down and left or right. So it's really easy to like do that because you could just kind of press on like the wing, and it actually made D-pad spin dashes super easy. And currently, I have not. I think my best Nebula Belt on GameCube controller is like a 206, and my PB is like a 2.0. So I just haven't gotten back to like that skill level using the substantially worse D-pad.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was kind of a big thing. And honestly, actually, Nebula is the reason that I haven't gone back to it since then. Because like, I can beat the record. I've kind of been like laying out a plan for like a good run that I would want to get, which would get me like a 17:15 in game time, which is like 15 seconds better than the record.
Uh-huh.
That's kind of like a goal that I'm working towards right now. But like, it was just like the thing that was stopping me is like, especially at the time, I was getting like in the 210, like 213 to 215 range on Nebula, and that's like 15 seconds lost to my PB. So it's like, why would I try and do all tracks if I am going to lose 15 seconds every time I do it? And I felt like I wasn't really improving at all at Nebula when I would try, because I wouldn't like spend enough time on it, because I would just play it and wouldn't get anywhere, and then I would stop. So that's kind of an issue that stopped me personally from running it. But
okay, yeah, it wow, your average would be like 15 seconds slower.
Yeah. So basically, spin dashes save a ridiculous amount of time, and like if you were to drive the course with a scooter without spin dashes, you're looking at a time of well over 3 minutes. And
what's with Bulk Stars IL?
Okay, so Bulk Star is really cool. I can kind of explain how it works. Have you seen the video for it, or?
I have.
Okay,
I don't really know why it happens,
You
but
don't really
I kinda
understand.
have
So most vehicles, or pretty much every vehicle, has some way that they interact when they're in the air. Most vehicles will move a little bit faster in the air. They might, if they're falling, they might accelerate a little bit. I think it's true with most vehicles. If they're falling, they'll accelerate unless they're going like super, super fast. So Bulk Star has that too, where if it's falling, it'll accelerate. And then since Bulk Star, its boost works as fuel, so like it just drains over time. When you go off the jump, so the idea is you go off a jump with full charge, and you can like slide while charging, so it doesn't like immediately stop you. So you slide off the jump at pretty much full charge, and then as you're falling, you're constantly gaining speed. And then the way that the charge release works is it adds about 60 kilometers an hour to whatever speed you started at. It just like climbs like, like your speed constantly climbs as the boost wears off, and it pretty much doesn't matter how fast you're going. It'll just add up to around 60 or so kilometers at the end. So if you land, if you hit the ground going 40, when the boost wears off, you'll be going 100. So you can pretty much use that. It gives you like so much speed, you can just kind of chain from boost to boost by going off the jump like that. So
it's crazy.
Yeah, it's a super cool mechanic. My jaw literally dropped the first time I saw it. Like I've never had my jaw actually drop. Like it's a phrase, but I've never actually had it drop.
Like your mouth was like literally agape. Like
yeah. For like 2 minutes, just watching it. It was insane. But
yeah, especially because I think most people who play the game casually are like, Bulk Star is stupid. It's so slow and boring, and I hate it. Those are my thoughts. At least I always thought it was really stupid. It was like a silly mechanic, but I'm like, this isn't useful for anything. And here we are. It's going like 100 kilometers an hour on Nebula Belt. Just
yeah, exactly. Like everyone's just like, oh, Bulk Star. is like super lazy or like super like bad. That's why in I've done quite a few marathon runs, so just like online marathon runs and stuff like that.
Right.
And like whenever I do all tracks, like I could do scooter because it's faster, but for a marathon run, I usually do bulk star anyway because like for marathon run, who cares what time you get really? And I feel like just showing that off like is so novel that I usually just opt to do that instead because it's so cool.
What's the time difference between scooter and bulk though?
So bulk star can get from like a 220 to 224 ish. Technically, the record outside of doing like a really insane strat is a 216. I've never gotten sub 220. A few people, I think Super Sanic has like a 219 as his PB with bulk. Basically, your optimization involves hitting the ground at as much speed as possible. But so between there and then like my record for scooter is like a 2:0. So that's about 20 seconds or so. The record's a 1:48. So it's over. Well, from record to record, it's like 28 seconds, or it's 27 because the record is a 2:15. Basically, what the record does is like it takes a bomb from one of the copy chance wheels, and whenever you're taking damage, it either pushes you upward in the air or causes you to fall slower. So he throws a bomb at the jump, and basically it'll be exploding as he's falling. So it holds him in the air longer, and he picks up more speed. It's actually an insane strat. It's super cool. So like he hits the ground with so much speed that he actually skips the jump at the end of the lap because he's going so fast he can just preserve the entire speed like along the straightaway at the start. And I think like his run is quite a bit worse otherwise, but like that strat alone just saves an insane amount of time.
That's so crazy.
But it involves like you have to be able to pick from the copy chance wheel, which you have like a 2-frame window per power up, so it's super super hard.
Yeah,
I don't even think he does it all 3 laps. I think he only does it once. But
it's a really cool idea though. I like that.
Yeah, for sure.
But so all tracks. Do you see yourself in the future ever going back and really trying to grind it out?
Yeah. So basically, so since Bearstrike and I are running no dupes, we have a race at SGDQ. I was like working on that.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
I just thought it was him. Awesome, dude.
Yeah. I was like working on it, and I got to run like 3 days after I started derusting. That's like less than a second off record. So I was like, all right, good enough. And I wanted to keep streaming, so I just started working on ILs. I think I just started working on Sky Sands because my PB was kind of bad, and I just like PB that same day, and I was like, oh, I can do way better on this. So I kind of set some times and just kind of kept improving. I actually had the record for about 6 hours before Yokaze took it back for the IL for Sky Sands. But then like I got a time of like 1:48, which was like a 5-second improvement on my PB. And I just kind of started working on Frozen Hillside, which I've improved like 2 seconds so far, and I'm working on it more. And basically, I kind of like looked at all my IL times because I kind of like stopped doing all of my ILs, and I wasn't really done with any of them. Like none of them, I was like, wow, that run's incredible. I just stepped away because I switched speed games and stuff.
I gotcha. So you're looking back at it now, and you're like, oh, I still have work to do.
Yeah, so I've been working on that now, and basically most of the courses I'm going to go through and improve on. And then once I feel like I've improved everywhere, then like I was saying, I have a plan to try and get like at least like a 17:15 in-game time, which would beat the record by 14 seconds. We'll see if that run is feasible. I'm generally pretty good at getting runs pretty quickly. Like my consistency is pretty good, so most of the time that it takes me to get a run is the time it takes me to improve enough to be able to perform that run.
Gotcha.
So that's actually what I'm working on right now. So hopefully next couple weeks you might see a record out of me.
Oh hell yeah, let's go, dude! Make my job harder. Make me put something in at the end of the video. I'm good. I'm glad. Yeah. Okay. So one last thing. Have you done any runs of 5 hot dog %?
I have not actually.
Okay. Were you around at the inception of it?
Yeah, I was.
Can you maybe explain a little bit of what's going on, or how that came to be?
I don't really understand. I think it was just a meme. I think Pearstrike said he saw some people running it in a practice room at one of the GDQs, and let's see. His first run was January 2018. Although it was the 2nd of January, so it was before HGDQ. So it must have been like SGDQ 17 or something he saw it. I don't really know. But he just kind of started running it, and then like a bunch of people started running it kind of out of nowhere because it was I don't know, everyone likes City Trial, so like the idea of like a casual City Trial run seemed fun, but like City Trial 100 checkboxes is actually like a really long category, and it's like too grindy for like a lot of people to just like a random casual isn't just gonna like pick it up and play it. But 5 hot dogs %, like you can do that. So I don't know. It got a lot of hype going for a few months. It was actually pretty funny.
I gotcha.
But
okay.
Yeah, that category's got some history of its own, actually.
I guess last but not least, so can you maybe explain some of the ideas or some of the track ride combos in No Dupes? Like, how did you guys come to that route? Because it's changed a few times. I've seen.
Yeah. So for No Dupes, basically, largely what we did was at first we just kind of theorized, and we kind of took some stuff based on what we had already practiced. So, for example, since like Wheelie Scooter was already used, because we kind of theorized immediately, like Wheelie Scooter saves way more time than anything else on Checker Nights. So we got to use it there because it's the longest course. Bulk Star isn't going to be good anywhere except Nebula, where it's very good, so we're going to use it there. There's no competition other than Rocket Star on Magma, so we have to use it there. Fantasy Meadows, it's a pretty short course, so we can do mostly anything, so we'll figure that out later. Jet Star, definitely we're going to use on Celestial Valley, because the only other option is Scooter, which is already being used. And then Frozen Hillside, like, since Slick Star is already like almost the best vehicle on the course, it's pretty tied with Scooter, like you definitely use it there. So we kind of like took the ones that were most obvious first. So most obvious would be Celestial Valley, Frozen Hillside, Magma, Nebula, and Checker Nights. Then we had Machine Passage, Sky Sands, Fantasy, and Beanstalk left. And then from those ones, we kind of we took some stuff that we already knew. So for example, or very initially, we used Wagon Star there just because we had learned Wagon Star because you use it in 100 checkboxes. So since we already just like know how to play the time attack run of it, we just like started with that. Pretty quickly, we changed that to Wheelie Bike because it was better. We used Swerve Star on Machine Passage because Pear Strike had like a little like community challenge thing where he just really liked Swerve Star on that course, and he's like, "Oh, we should all like try and get our best times and whatever on that course." So we all just kind of like learned it for fun, or at least he did, and I did, and I think a few other people. So since we already knew that, like we started with that, and then we just like looked at the Speed Rider for Beanstalk, and basically looked down the line. It's like Scooter's taken, Rocket's taken, Jet's taken, Slick's taken, and the fifth vehicle is Turbo Star. So like, okay, we'll use Turbo there. So we learned Turbo, and then pretty much the same thing with Fantasy Meadows. Rocket's taken, Scooter's taken, Bike's taken, Bulk's taken, and then it was between Rex and Formula. Currently, Rex has a little bit better record. I don't remember if that was the case at the time, or if Formula was faster at the time, but either way, I think we thought like Formula would be more consistent, so we'll just go with that because it's only like half a second slower than Rex.
Okay, yeah, that's nothing. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, because it's a short course anyway, so if it's consistent, we'll take that. And then, yeah, for Sky Sands, since we're using Swerve already on Machine Passage, we just look down the line, and Swerve is the next one. Or, yeah, Bike was the next one. Eventually, later, we realized, okay, actually, it's faster to switch Swerve to Sky Sands and Bike to Machine Passage. So that's where we switched that, and that's kind of where we're at today.
I gotcha.
So there were kind of like 3 additions to the route.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of assumed that's how it went down, but I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't like reading into it too much or anything like that.
Yeah. But, so it's a mix of like intuition and then using the Speed Rider list to figure out what we thought.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've seen Pear Strike do Swerve on Machine Passage, and I'm like, man, this is actually really cool to watch. I think it's a really cool IL.
Yeah, for sure, it's a lot of fun
because he does like the spin dash, and some of the walls line up just perfectly. It's like, oh, man, that's so cool.
Yeah, there's like the first tunnel, like after the room with like the water and stuff like that. It's like it bends like 90 degrees, so you'll be facing the right wall and spinning, and then it'll bend for you, and now you're facing the left wall and spinning. And then the same thing happens like when you shoot out of the cannon. It's like facing the right wall, it bends, now you're facing the left, and like you don't have to adjust your angle at all. So yeah, for sure, it's like a lot of fun.
It's a shame that one doesn't stick, but
yeah,
it is what it is. Someone told me that you can do spin dashes on the other wheelies.
Okay, so every vehicle has unique like total set of interactions that they have with walls.
Okay.
If that makes sense. So every vehicle has how much speed they lose from hitting walls, like how much they bounce away from them, how much they can turn while riding along the wall, etc. And like Wheelie Bike has a mechanic where if you kind of point inwards towards the wall a little bit, your speed will just kind of go up for a little bit. But you can't do it too much because if you point all the way into the wall, then you'll stop. But you can just kind of do it for like a second and a half, and you'll get like a few more kilometers an hour. The wheel power-up, the one that you get from sucking up the wheel enemies, that one has something just like it, except you charge as you do it, but it gets you more speed. It gets you like maybe 10 or 15 kilometers an hour, but like only for the duration of the charge or whatever. And then you release the charge when it's full, and then you do it again. I don't think Rex really has one.
Okay.
So
maybe I misheard. I just thought they said that all the wheelies have that. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they all have. Rex might, but at least in the case of Bike, Scooter, and the wheel power-up, they all have some sort of speed that can be gained from using walls. But I think that's just a coincidence more than anything.
Okay, cool. And you recently got a PB in no dupes, right?
Yeah.
So you think you're gonna go in for world record soon, or?
So that PB was actually insane, and I was actually frustrated that it wasn't record because like every time that I got in that run was like a god run, except for the very first level, Frozen Hillside is where I started, was like quite a bit worse than what I could have taken as a run. Like I could have been more restrictive with like how good my start needed to be to start a run. But I was like, okay, that's good enough. And like it was pretty bad. And then I ended up setting like significant time. I think I saved time on like almost every other level. I think I golded like at least 1 or 2 splits. And then I'm like less than a second off record. And I was like, man, like in order to beat record, I have to have that same god run again, but with a better start. And like when that happened,
how bad was your start?
It was a 2:15, and like my kind of goal time for what I would have wanted to start with, like to start a run with, would have been like at worst 2:14, maybe like a 2:13 or 2:12. But I wasn't really like consistent enough to be like grinding for 2:12 starts. Like it wasn't actually that bad. Like a 2:15 wasn't that bad. It was just a little bit worse than I would have.
Like a 3 or 4 seconds behind what you wanted.
Yeah, like 3 or 4 seconds what I would have like idealized, but even just like 1 or 2 seconds behind what I would have been fine with, if that makes sense. So it's just like a little bit worse. But then, I like the only reason that I'm as beat up about it as I am is because of the fact that that is the less than 1 second that I was off record. So it's like 0.81 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah. Damn.
So since that run was really good, like as much as having record's nice, if I get record, Luca is probably just going to take it back because he's another Japanese runner. He's learned quite a few. He started out initially, he was just like the turbo god. Like a lot of the Japanese community, like a lot of players just kind of pick a vehicle to become really good at. So like he has 7 of the 9 records for like turbo. A player named Secret has like a ton of the wheelie bike records and a lot of like other vehicles too, like Warp Star records, Shadow Star records, Rex Wheelie records, and stuff like that. He's got a bunch of like other random ones, but particularly he was like the bike guy. Like he has all of the records for wheelie bike, and I was just like, actually no, Nebula Bell he's missing, but so initially like most of Luca's times were turbo, but I guess he decided to like pick up no dupes and learned pretty much all the rest of them, and then so generally he's just like a little bit better as far as like his like off times. I think his and my Celestials are about the same. His fantasy might be a little bit better, but it's such a short course, it doesn't really matter. His Sky Sands is better than mine. I think his Cold is better than mine. His Magma is about the same as mine. His Beanstalk's way better because he used turbo there, and he's the best turbo player in the world, so kind of hard to compete. His Machine Passage with bike is better than mine. My Check Knight's better than his, and then his Nebula is better than mine. So he's just a better player overall, basically. So if I beat him, he'll just grind for more optimized run, take it back. So like having record isn't super important since it's a good run for me anyway. So I don't know. I might end up getting it if I practice more for the no dupes race. But I guess we'll see.
We'll see. All right. Well, this I'm really hoping to make this video come out before SGQ.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
Hopefully it'll be there. But I will be at SGQ, so I will definitely see you there, and I'll make sure to come up and say hi.
Sounds good.
Shake hand, we'll get a beer or something. Who knows? All right, man. Thanks for taking the time. Let me go ahead and end the recording.